What's up, guys? Tim Little, Matt Allen. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today we're talking about summer swim bait fishing. We're going to talk about some of our favorite soft baits, some of our favorite hard baits, top water baits, subsurface, everything in between. We're talking summer swim baits.
You know, swim bait fishing traditionally was a winter thing. And then as the sport grew, as more people got into it, as it got thrown in more places, we discovered it was more of like a 3-season thing. Well, really, it's a 4-season thing. You can throw a swim bait year-round. You can throw a giant bait year-round. You can catch big fish. Now, your shot of catching that freak of nature, you know, that state record fish, on a swim bait, those odds are better during the cold months.
Wintertime. Yeah.
But you can still catch monsters in the summer. It's a total misnomer that you can't do that. You don't need to put your swim bait rods down. It's tempting because the frog bite's so fun, but you don't have to. You can go out and throw giant baits all the time. So we're actually going to cover a bunch of baits right now. Tim's going to cover soft baits. I'm going to cover hard baits. You mind if I go first? I'll just run through it.
All you.
I'm going to break it down into 4 styles. Trout baits, bluegill baits, baitfish baits, and 1 rat. So depending on what's in your fishery, what you think your bass are targeting, you just make it simple. These are the baits that we've been the most consistent with. We've had work over and over and over and over again. And that's why we picked them. Because I've literally got boxes of baits. I mean, a bunch.
That's one
in
of
the
like
boat
5,
with us,
yeah.
right? In the boat with us right now, and just pulled a handful of baits out. I went with the baits that work most often in the most places. Baits that are going to work cross country. So, trout imitator. Literally the only hard bait trout imitator that I throw during the summer at all is a Spro BBZ floater. Only the floater. It's a wake bait. When you first look at this thing, like, the joint placement is gigantic, the bait's loud, it has a rattle in it. It's all the things a swim bait shouldn't be on the surface. But it gets them. It has this amazing, fast, tight action, almost triple trout-like. But if you speed it up and kill it, it'll turn. It'll run and turn. And with that rattle in there, it makes such a ruckus, they come unglued. Largemouth, smallmouth, and spots, they all come unglued on that one bait. If you're going to go that route, it's literally the one bait that I would throw during the summer.
What about sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
Do you like the 6-inch version?
Personally, I mean, not as much.
Okay.
I like the big one.
I like the 8-inch as well.
Yeah, that's the one that I would throw as the big one. And you'll catch little fish on it, you'll catch giant fish on it, but it works so well. I've smashed them on holiday weekends in the middle of summer. 4th of July, go out and get 30 or 40 blow-ups on it, fishing it out over points. It actually shines on those super busy weekends because you get those mud lines, and those fish get up and stage in those mud lines, and this bait is so loud that they can find it in the mud. And then when they get up on it, it's a big profile, and they just wolf it. Plus, it doesn't have a bill in the way, so it has an excellent hookup ratio. The one rat bait, out of all my rats, I thought, which is just the one that would be the most consistent? And it would be the Johnny rat. That would be the one that I would go with. It's lighter weight, throws a huge wake, tons of commotion, tons of movement, but it's very lightweight. So you can get away with throwing it on a lighter rod than a lot of the other baits that are available. Baitfish Profiles. I'm going to give you 3. 2 topwaters, 1 subsurface. Subsurface bait is the bull shad. 6-inch bull shad, 7-inch bull shad. That's big enough. You can burn them, I mean, insanely fast. Burn them, kill them, burn them, kill them. And they just come out. Same thing as that BBZ, but it's subsurface. They come out and just come unglued on it. Wake baits, again, staying super simple. The one that we've talked about traditionally is the slammer. Just gets eaten. 7-inch and 9-inch slammer just gets wolfed. And in the world of swim baits, fairly inexpensive. This is a bait that I have not talked about one stinking time. It used to be called a noisy docks. This is a noisy docks, an evergreen bait. It was a Japanese bait. They discontinued them. If you were trying to find them on eBay on eBay. I apologize. I'm the guy that bought all of them. I mean, this bait has been through it. I love this bait. It's goofy looking, right? With that little stub tail on it. Man, it works. It has worked for years. And the reason I didn't talk about it is because it was gone. But it's back. Now they call it an ND 180. It's on Tackle Warehouse. Half of me is thrilled about that. Half of me has my feelings hurt about that. But guys, we're going to link all these baits in the video description. But if you just wanted one wake bait, now it's not as inexpensive as a slammer, but I'm telling you, this thing it's a killer. It's goofy looking. It's a killer. We've caught giants on it all over the place for years. Fantastic wake. They eat it. They eat it really good. So consider that bait. I hate that I'm even talking about it, but if I'm going to do it, I might as well be honest. Yeah, that's a good one. Last but not least, bluegill baits. You guys know traditionally, I always say don't throw bluegill baits because it's a hard profile for fish to eat. Take a traditional bait or a trout bait, paint it to look like a bluegill. But bluegill baits are getting better. Profiles are getting better. Buka put out his bullgill last year. It crushes it. Same thing as the regular bull shad. I mean, you can burn the snot out of that thing. Just burn it, stop, burn, stop, burn, stop. And they just come unglued. Other end of the spectrum is the Gantarelle and the Gigantarelle. This is the big one. It's more methodical. So this is like full throttle, 7-to-1 ratio, 8-to-1 ratio. This is like your 5-to-1, 6-to-1. It's slower. And you can almost treat it like a glide bait. You can twitch it and it'll swim off to one side. They're just a good 1-2 punch for bluegill profiles. Their actions are completely different, but both work really well. That's it. You want me to talk about that one too?
Might as well. I'll just feed you baits. When he said, "You mind if I go first?" I didn't know he was gonna shoot an entire video.
You didn't? I did. I knew I was gonna keep right on going.
Keep on going.
All right, I guess I'll just keep on going. Tim's Vanna White today.
I picked the soft baits.
You're kind of pretty.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so sticking to the bluegill profile, the mat lures. There are guys that have thrown mat lures year-round since they started. I didn't. I used the mat lures as a sight fishing bait. They weren't consistent enough action-wise to fish the rest of the year, I felt. But he introduced that hammer tail, and I like it. It really gave it a more methodical, consistent action. Keeps that bait perfectly upright. It's got a really nice swim, and I feel like he suddenly, I mean, other people would say it's been a year-round bait forever, but it just became a year-round bait for me. With that hammer tail, that mat lures is now a really good bluegill profile bait. Are you really going to keep handing it to me? All right. Smash tag. Now you're talking shad profile, but you're talking shad profile right at the surface. They make it in both a bottom hook and a weedless, depending on your application, depending on how much grass you have in the water. If you can get away with a bottom hook, this is that. So line through to a belly treble, that's absolutely the way I would go. Fish right under the surface, an inch, 2 inches under the surface, almost like a wake bait. But what's awesome about these baits is they're this slow, methodical tail kick, lures fish up and in. But when they get up to it, if you use a couple of really hard rips of that rod, you can turn it into a fluke. It'll get knocked off balance and it'll start to dart. And you can really get those fish to just lash out and get aggressive on it in ways that they just don't on other swim baits. And all of these baits are going to be, with the exception of the mat lures, they're all going to be paddle tail style baits. We give up on the Huddlestons and the more natural type profiles. We give that up in the summer. Stick to the more aggressive, hard thumping, kicking, water moving, boulder colors. You want to get those fish to get up and get aggressive and get reactive on the bait.
Good thing about that bait too, with it being the line through, the spots and the smallies, they eat it, and you're not, with that smaller mouth, they don't have to choke the bait, and you're not fighting that weight of the bait. It slides up, and you're just fishing the hook.
All right, Vanna, you want to talk now? You talk.
I just did. We'll hand it over to you.
All right. So opposite end of the spectrum, surface, bottom. Osprey, top hook Talon, heavy bait. I mean, fast sinking bait. It'll fish in that like ROF. What that is a rate of fall. How fast will a bait sink? This sucker sinks about 18 to 20 feet every 10 seconds. I mean, it sinks like a rock, gets down and holds bottom. If your fish get out on those ledges, there's no reason for you to be fishing 2 inches under the surface. Go down to the bottom, grind away, just slow roll bottom. That's all you have to do. That's the 6-inch version.
A lot lighter.
7-inch.
A lot lighter bait. This is good for skipping docks.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite 6-inch baits.
Very consistent bait. You do a lot of talking for just helping, you know.
I'm an assistant.
All right, and last but not least, Kitech, when they came out with the 6.8 and 7.8, they entered a new realm. They entered the big bait world. What's awesome about Kitech, they come unrigged, so you can either put them on. We put them on a Matt Allen swim bait head, either a 3/4 or 1 ounce with an exposed hook, or you put them on an Owner Beast, weedless rigged. Again, depends on if you're trying to fish deep or you're ledge fishing, or you're trying to get up under docks, around cover, skip it. Depending on what you're going to do, you do one or the other. But what's awesome about the Kitech is that tail translated really well when they went to their bigger sizes. Huge wide tail kick. It's a phenomenal bait. In both the 6.8 and 7.8, that's length. So basically a 7-inch and an 8-inch. Translated really well, and you get all of their colors. So you can throw it in shad, you can throw it in different gills, you can throw it in a whole variety of baitfish colors. You can throw it in chartreuse blue, you can throw it in white for less money than you would typically be in all the big swim bait game previously. That opened a lot of doors. If you're just trying to get into the swim bait game this summer, you want to try some different things, buy some of the bigger Kitechs, get some Matt Allen swim bait heads, get some weedless heads, the Owner Beast hooks, rig it both ways, try fishing it deep, slow rolling on bottom, and try shooting it up under docks, try throwing it into the cover, up over the top of the grass lines. And if you really enjoy that style of fishing, you can start branching into the other soft baits and the hard baits and really go from there and develop your own technique. Gear-wise, I tend to soften up my rods a little bit this time of year. I don't really use the giant pool cues because most of the baits are lighter and they're treble hooks, most of them. And the ones that aren't treble hooked baits, it's still just a single jig hook and they don't have tons and tons of weight like the big trout baits do. So either like did you bring your Dobbins? Yeah.
That's $7.95, but 806 works too.
$7.95 or the 806. The 806 is a phenomenal rod for all your treble hook baits. And then the other one that I started playing with last year, and quite a bit more this spring, this is the lighter. So it's the 5-power. The actual model's at 965. This is the Loomis, the IMX Pro. But it's only a 5-power, which is a lot lighter than I typically use. But if I'm throwing a bigger bait with multiple trebles, I'll use an 806 or something like that. But if I'm throwing my single trebles, or it's a lighter weight bait, or it's that smaller but lighter rat where it doesn't weigh a whole lot, all of those I'm going to switch over to that 5-power because it's more comfortable. It feels like I'm fishing with a bass rod, right? It's a low profile reel seat. Everything's comfortable in the hand. I don't feel like it's a giant workhorse rod except for my power handle. But when you set the hook and you just turn the winch on, just start going on them, and it's over. Just grind those fish into the boat. So don't be afraid to get out there and throw the big baits this summer. It doesn't matter if you live back east and your fish are out on ledges, or your fish are up on grass lines, or they're under docks. It does not matter. They eat swim baits coast to coast, year round. Some of these baits will work for you. They are worth giving a try. Huge thank you to Vanna for coming out, spending time on the boat today.
I poured my heart and soul into this video. A lot of thought process went into this, so I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave those down below in the video description. Matt and I will try and get to those. Yeah. We appreciate you guys. We're doing 3 videos a week for you. If you guys learned something or like this video, remember to hit that like button. Remember to subscribe to our channel, and we'll talk to you soon, guys.
Thank you, guys.